Hello guys, welcome back. Here's another video on the political theory of philosophers. I believe that you guys will be familiar with today's philosopher, Karl Marx. Karl Marx was born in May 5th, 1818 in the town of Trier, which was then a part of the Kingdom of Prussia. In 1835, Marx graduated from Friedrich Wilhelm Gymnasium and enrolled in the University of Bonn. A year later, in 1836, he mismanaged his studies in Bonn and Marx enrolled at the Frederick William University in Berlin as a law student. After that, he continued to produce documents such as the Communist Manifesto in 1848 and Das Kapital in 1867, and then he died on March 14th, 1883 in London. The idea of justice by Marx is mostly discussed under the context of capitalism and communism. How he learned about it was that Marx thought that the capitalist system at that time was unjust and came up with the idea of communism where people earn shares considering their needs. Here's a little background information. Capitalist, Capitalism is a system that was suggested by Adam Smith where minimum government force interferes with the market. Most of the economy isn't controlled by private entities and individuals. And due to this very trait, the gap between the rich and the poor is quite dramatic, like the current world and the system that you can see in the US or in Korea. Communism, contrasting to the idea of capitalism, has the most interference from the government. It was suggested by Karl Marx, and private properties are not allowed as the government controls them, and there are barely any gaps between the people. And the most important concept in communism is that the individual is paid according to their capabilities and needs. Now, to be exact, Marx argued that all capitalist profit ultimately derived from the exploitation of the workers. Marx did not say in his words that capitalism is unjust, actually. Ideas also vary on whether Marx considered communism as a just society, or whether he thought that the concept of justice does not necessarily apply to the communist societies. Marx illustrates the concept of communism in his writing Critique of the Gotha Program. And there he tells us that a communist society is where each person contributes respectively to their abilities and receives in accordance with their needs. And in this point, I would like to bring one philosopher to discuss about, David Hume. I talked about Hume in my 7th lecture, so if you want to learn more about him, I recommend you to watch that video. Anyways, David Hume once said that if everyone could have whatever they wanted without invading another's share, he would never have devised rules of justice. Only looking at this part of Hume's thought and using it to analyze communism, it seems like communism is a society that he talked about. But Hume also stated that if there were complete fellow feeling between all human beings, there would be no conflict and no need for justice. Therefore, looking at communism through Hume's idea, a communist society itself would not really need justice. It's pretty ideal. Now let's move on to the concept of socialism that Marx gave us. When we actually look at it, it is quite different from what we normally thought of. Marx explains that socialism is not a society with regimented individuals disregarding the social and economical differences between them. Nor is socialism a society where an individual is confounded to the state, the bureaucracy, and more. The target of Marx's socialism sits in man. It seeks to organize and create a form of production so man would not be isolated from their labor, their products, themselves, and more. It allows one to turn back on oneself and become one with the world. In Marx's socialism, production is made in a rational, and borrowing the words of Paul Tillich, socialism was a resistance movement against the destruction of love and social reality for Marx. And in Marx socialism, production is made in an associated, rational, unalienated way so that production is under man's control. It prevents any random anonymous power to take control of this production. And through this, we can tell that socialism is definitely not the type of society where men are under the control of bureaucracy. And also, individual activity takes part in planning and executing the plans in political and industrial aspects. Then what did Marx expect from socialism? Well, Through socialism, Marx expected that men would be able to become independent and will no longer be affected by alienated production and consumptions. The last concept that I would like to deal with in this video is utopian socialism. It's had been created by Charles Fourier, Henry Saint-Simon, and Robert Owen. And although Marxian socialism and utopian socialism are different, Marx was happy about all socialists. Utopian socialists believe that making compelling and constructive plans for the future is necessary, and this is what distinguishes them from other socialists. To elaborate more, utopian socialists believe that before making the socialist future into real life, planning it and designing it needs to come first. Well, why? Because they believe that the plans will motivate and guide the socialists to achieve their goals. And although Marx was happy with all socialists, as I said before, he did make some criticism on utopian socialists. In his famous Communist Manifesto, he speaks that utopian socialists have a mistaken ahistorical view on social changes, that they fail to understand the fact that it is the conditions that emerge at specific stages of historical development that contributes to the achievement of socialism. So, this is it for today. Today, we were able to look at Karl Marx and the truth behind these ideas and talked a little bit about socialism and utopian socialism. Hope that this video was helpful and see you in another video. Bye!